President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and once again the floor is given to the defense team for Mr. Kyo Sampon to put questions to this witness. You may now proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Good morning, Mrs. Alsek. My name is Anta Gise, and I am International Co-Counsel for Mr. Kyo Sampon. And in this capacity, I will be putting a few brief questions to you. My first question has to do with an event you mentioned in answer to a question put to you by the National Co-Prosecutor. You stated that you were arrested for about 10 days, and when you were interviewed by co-investigating judges, you made mention of a number of persons who were also arrested at the same time as yourself. And you said you had a grandmother called Che. And can you tell us who arrested that person and how you knew about her? In the interest of interpretation, to avoid interpretation problems, it is written C-H-E with a circumflex accent. The document is E3/7780.
Counsel Kong Sampon, the name is Chai. Witness. In fact, Ye Chai was called together with me to an area, to a pagoda, Anlong Tree Pagoda.
Et ma question était de savoir qui est cet
And my question to you was, who was that person and how did you know about her?
Answer. Ye Chai was simply an ordinary person in Anlong Tree village. We were living in the same village.
Dans votre déclaration.
In your statement E3/7780, and the ERN in French is 00250601. ERN in English 0023551112, and the ERN in Khmer is 00233-296. You refer to the ethnic origins of that person. Do you remember those origins?
Answer. I do not know the background of that person. That person said she was Jam. We had been living together in the same village. I, at the beginning, did not know whether or not that person was Jam. However, I knew that the father of that person was ethnically Jam.
Et vous confirmez que, comme vous,
And do you confirm that, as in your case, that person was freed at a point in time?
Yeah.
Answer. Yes. Later on, that person was freed.
Vous avez évoqué, toujours à la même page,
Still on the same page in French, on the same page in English and Khmer, the ARN being 0023-3296. You refer to a number of cadres at the village level. I crave your indulgence for my pronunciation. I've given the ERN numbers so that you know exactly what we're talking of. I mentioned is made of man, cock, chai, and ni, and they are all referred to as base area cadres. My first question has to do with man. What was his position exactly?
Mon có chia và thiên
Answer, Mon was the village chief in Onlong Tria.
Est-ce que c'est à lui
And was it to that person that you spoke when you were arrested, or you spoke to someone else?
Answer, Mon invited me to a pagoda. It was only Mon who invited me.
Donc c'est à lui que vous avez...
So he's the person you spoke to, is that correct?
Answer, yes, that is correct. It was Mon.
Est-ce que vous savez qui était le chef de Mon?
Do you know who Mon's chief was?
Answer, I do not know the immediate supervisor of Mon. I knew only Choi, another chief.
Et ce Choi, est-ce que vous pouvez indiquer...
And can you tell us what Choi's exact position was?
Answer, he was the commune chief of Prechray.
Vous avez également évoqué Coq.
You also made mention of Kok. What was Kok's position?
Answer, village chief. He was the village chief. The village chief, together with Mon in Onlong Tria.
Et enfin Ni.
And lastly, Ni. What was his position?
Mon ni và thiên
Answer, he was the chief of militia.
Tout à l'heure, et
A while ago, and even last week, you said on several occasions that you were an ordinary member of the village and you went about doing your work. And is it correct to say that you never attended any meeting with Mon, Kok, Che, and Ni?
Answer, I never attended the meetings, but I used to be in the meetings in relation to the discussion of harvest and the agriculture. And in the meeting, I was told to increase the production from 3 tons per hectare to 6 tons per hectare.
donc tout à l'heure,
So a while ago, when you answered a question put to you by the civil party lead co-lawyer, you said that you assumed that Mon established reports on the ethnic origins of members of your village population. Was that only a supposition on your part, and that you were not quite aware of the fact that Mon wrote reports on people to a chief that you were not aware of? Is that correct?
Answer, yes, that is correct.
je vous remercie. Je n'ai pas d'autres questions, monsieur.
Thank you. I have no further questions for the witness, Mr. President.
Council Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, witness. This morning you made mention about the arrest of Vietnamese and the transfer of them to their home country, that is Vietnam. Could you tell the court who told you that Vietnamese were arrested and sent back home?
mình miền
Answer. it was not the village chiefs who told us about that. It was our thought that the Vietnamese were arrested and sent back to Vietnam. No one told us about that.
អ្នកស្រីដឹងពី
Question: Who told you about the arrest and transfers of Vietnamese? Could you tell the names of those people? Answer: It was a rumor from one another. When we were in the dining hall, all of us were whispering to one another that Vietnamese had been arrested and sent back to Vietnam. We were afraid after hearing that information. I, together with Ye Ye, discussed about that matter. Ye Chert, who was in my group, discussed the matter with us about the Vietnamese people arrested and sent back to Vietnam. We learned from the grandmother or Ye Ye in Khmer.
គុណអ្នកស្រីដឹងថានៅពេលណាដែរឆ្នាំ
Council: When did that happen? Answer: It was between 1975 to 1978 when we were working together in the cooperatives and when we were having meals together collectively. Council: Thank you. A while ago you said Ni was militiaman chief. Could you specify about Ni's position, whether or not he was the militia chief in the commune or in the village? Answer: Ni was the chief of militia within my village. Council: Thank you, Madam Witness. Mr. President, I am done with my questioning. President: Thank you, Madam Sao Sa. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has come to an end. Your testimony will contribute to truth in this case. You may be accused. You may return to your residence or to any destination you wish to go. I wish you good health, good luck and prosperity. Court officer, please work with vessels to send Madame Sausat back to her residence or to any destination she wishes to go. And next, the chamber will start to hear 2 TCW 241. Court officer, please invite the witness into the courtroom. President. Good morning, Mr. Civil Party. What is your name? Civil Party. My name is Trương Yang Chat. President, Mr. Trương Yang Chat, when were you born? Answer, I cannot recall it. President, how old are you this year? Answer, I am 13 or 14 years old, Mr. President, said a Civil Party. President, how old are you this year, Mr. Civil Party? Answer, I am 52 years old, Mr. President. President, thank you, Mr. Trương Yang Chat. Where were you born? Answer, Sri Takuj Village, Bakery Commune, Kampong Leng District. President, and what is your current address? Where are you living now? Answer, I am living in Kanda Village, Kampong Chnang District, Kampong Chnang Province. President, and what is your current occupation? Answer, I am a worker, Mr. President. President, thank you. Mr. Yoon Jae, please listen carefully to the question before you give your answer. By doing so, you may allow time for interpreters to interpret into 3 working languages, Khmer, English, and French. So you need to pause a little while so that interpreters can fully interpret what you say. What are your parents' names? Answer, my father's name is Trương Yang Suo and my mother's Viên Thị Còn. President, what about your wife? What is her name and how many children do you have? Answer, my current wife's name is Minh Yan Noi and I have 11 children, Mr. President. President, Mr. Trương Yang Chat, at the end of your testimony, as a civil party, you are entitled to make a victim impact statement during the Democratic Cambodia between 17 April 1975 to 1979, the 6th January 1979, if you wish to do so. Mr. Trương Yang Chat, have you ever been interviewed by the investigators of the ECCC's OCIJ? Answer, yes. I can recall some information which I provided to the investigator, not all of them. President, I want to know whether or not you have been interviewed by investigators of the OCIJ, of the ECCC. Answer, yes. Lawyer Sok Kung is the lawyer who interviewed me, and later on lawyer Lima interviewed me. President, so you did not provide information to the investigators of the OCIJ, of the ECCC. In fact, you were interviewed by your lawyers. Mr. Jung Yang Jae, on the basis of Internal Rule 91, based of the internal rules, the chamber gives the floor to lead co-lawyers to put question before other parties. Lead co-lawyers and co-prosecutors will have 2 sessions to put question to this witness, this civil party rather. You may now proceed, lead co-lawyer.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my colleague Lee Manguyen who will put questions to the civil party today.
President, yes, you can now proceed, lawyer.
Mr. Chung Yong Chet, are you of Vietnamese ethnicity?
Answer. I was ethnically Vietnamese.
Are both of your parents ethnically Vietnamese?
Answer. Yes, you are right.
Now, you mentioned that you were born in Say Takoi village in Kampong Leng district, Kampong Shnang province. Can you tell us where your parents were born?
Answer. Yes, I can tell you. My parents were also born in Srei Takoi, Kampong Leng district, and I was born in the same village, commune, and district.
What language did you speak at home growing up?
When I lived in that village, I spoke both Khmer and Vietnamese.
What language did you speak with your parents?
Answer. I spoke Vietnamese.
Did your parents also speak the Khmer language?
Yes, they could speak Khmer. They live in a village adjacent to Khmer villages, so they also spoke Khmer.
And what was
President, Madam Lawyer, rather, please also turn off your microphone after you put the question, and please also pause a little while before you put another question so that interpreters can fully interpret what all of you say.
Certainly, Your Honour, thank you. What level of Khmer language skills did your parents have?
Answer. They could speak 60% of Khmer.
Did your family follow any Vietnamese traditions?
Answer. They practiced Vietnamese religion.
And what is the Vietnamese religion?
Answer. They celebrated Vietnamese New Year and the All Souls Day that is sang about Tết.
Now, the Vietnamese use a calendar which is a little bit different from the Western calendar and from the Khmer calendar. Could you tell us how the Vietnamese calendar is different?
Answer. The calendar of French people is different from the calendar of Vietnamese people.
How are the calendars different?
Answer. Usually the celebration of any ritual of French calendar is 1 month before the Chinese calendar.
So the Vietnamese calendar is the same as the Chinese calendar?
Answer. Yes, that is right.
Now you said that the calendars were 1 month different. For example, if today is the 7th of December in the Western calendar, what day is it in the Vietnamese calendar?
Answer. It falls on the 26th of October in the Vietnamese calendar.
So the Vietnamese calendar has dates that are earlier than the Western calendar. Is that correct?
In fact, usually it is 1 month after the celebration according to the Western calendar.
Now, Mr. Chung Young Chet, have you got brothers and sisters? Or did you have brothers and sisters?
Answer. Yes, I have siblings, male and female siblings.
Is it correct that in 1975 you had 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, and that you were the youngest youngest child in your family?
Answer. Yes, I have 2 elder brothers and 2 elder sisters. I am the youngest in the family.
In 1975, you were 13 or 14 years old. Is that right?
Answer. Yes, that is right.
Do you know when each of your brothers and sisters were born?
Answer. I do not recall the dates of their births.
You told the court the names of your mother and your father earlier. I'd like to go through the names of each of your siblings, starting with the oldest brother. What was your oldest brother's name?
My first elder brother was Jung Young Hoi. My second brother was Jung Young Loi. And the next elder brother was Jung Ji Jiang, and the fourth one was Jung Thi Lip. Then it was me.
Your family was ethnic Vietnamese. Did any member of your family have Vietnamese nationality?
my ancestors were Vietnamese, and for me, I have 5 siblings.
Do any of your family members have Vietnamese nationality or Vietnamese citizenship?
At that time, I did not reach the age. However, through my other 2 brothers got the age, and they received this letter chứng giảng tại, that is during the Sangkum Rinijum regime.
I'd just like to move to the issue of your places of residence. You said you were born in Say Takoi village. How long did you and your family live in this village?
I lived there and I only moved to Kanda village in 1975. I was in Resaitakui for a long while. However, we were mistreated by the Khmer Rouge, then we fled to live near the Kampong Chnang town.
Could you explain how your family was mistreated by the Khmer Rouge in Say Takoi village?
They mistreated us, and they said that if we remained living there, every one of us would be killed. For that we were afraid. Then everyone from the village fled to Kampong Chnang, including my family and myself.
Do you recall the composition of Say Takoi village? For example, how many Vietnamese families lived there and how many Khmer families?
There were more than 30 Vietnamese families. However, there were more Khmer families living in the village and the commune, though I did not know the total number of the Khmer families.
When your family moved from Say Takoi village to Kandao village, were there also other families that moved there at the same time?
Everybody came to Kampong Chnang, that is to live in Kanda village. There were Vietnamese families, Khmer families, and Cham families coming to live in that village.
Now, you said earlier that you were told that if you remained in the village, you would all be killed. Could you explain who told you that and who they said it to?
It was the Tapieng's group who said that. Tapieng was in charge of Kampong Leng district.
Now, during the Khmer Rouge times, Kampong Leng district was also known as District 18. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates or the month that your family moved from Say Katoi village to Kandao village?
recall the month. However, in 1975, I moved to Kampong Chnang and we stayed there a little bit over a month. Then we were evacuated to Da.
What did you do during that month at Kandal village?
I went to catch fish.
You said that you were evacuated to Dar village. Could you explain whether your parents actually chose to relocate from Kandal village to Dar village or whether they were forced to?
By that time we were forced, and actually they said that long live Samdach O, and we all had to leave. For those who lived in the river had to go following the river, while those on land had to move by land. And for us, we went to the village.
Could you describe what happened during the forced relocation to Dar village?
We were taken to Da and we were divided into groups there. Some had to go go fishing while others had to work on land. So they divided and they selected certain families to go and catch fish while others work on land.
How many families were forcibly relocated to Dar village from Kandal village?
I cannot recall that there were many families. There were about 1,000 families.
Do you recall what the ethnic compositions of those 1,000 families were who were relocated? Do you know how many of them were Khmer and how many of them were Vietnamese families?
Since there were many families, I cannot recall the ethnic composition.
Do you recall whether there were more Vietnamese families than Khmer families in that area?
It was likely that there were more Vietnamese families.
Now, how far away was Dar village from Kandal village?
It was about 15 kilometers away, or it could be roughly a little bit less than 20 kilometers.
And the people, when they were transferred to Dar village, did the Vietnamese people live together with the Khmer people or did they live separately?
For my groups, we were all Vietnamese families, that is from Tapiem, while another group composed of mixed Khmer and Vietnamese families.
Who were the people in charge of Dar village?
I don't recall the name of the Da village chief, And I only know about the PM village chief in Kampong Leng district.
You mentioned before that there was a Ta Pieng. Was he the village chief of Da commune?
He was the chief of the Pol Pot group.
Now, this Da village, was it still within District 18?
Yes, that was located in District 18.
And could you describe where it was geographically? Was it on a mountain?
Yes, Pumda was located at a mountain, and to the east it was Kongkap mountain, and to Samnok, Chronok, and to the lower part of Da village lays the Kampong Leng district.
What were the living and working conditions on Da village at Kongkap mountain?
I lived in Kongkap village together with my siblings and my parents, and I stayed watch the house, and we were given a ladle of gruel for morning, for lunch, and for meal time, and the gruel was mixed with the morning glory.
What sort of work did you do at the mountain?
I was asked to clear the lands to grow potato.
Now, how long did your family live at Da village on Kongkap mountain before they were killed?
It was a bit more than a month.
During your family's time on the mountain, did they ever suspect that the whole family would be killed?
No, they never thought about that. If we knew that we were to be killed, we would run off into the forest, either to be eaten by a tiger, but we did not know anything about that. We did not anticipate it.
Mr. Chung Yong Chet, I'd like you to describe in detail the events leading to the death of your family, starting from the beginning. Could you please tell the court when it was, the approximate date or month that your family were gathered together and killed? Please take your time.
My parents were clearing the land, and in fact my father had a fever, I also had a fever. And next morning there were 8 men coming with 8 guns and an axe. They demanded my father to go first, and after he left the house he was tied. My mother became unconscious. Then each of the family members was tied up by a rope that they use on cows. Then they lined them up into a line and walked them off.
So that morning, were all of your family in the same house when your father was called to come out by the 8 men?
Yes, we were all there together, and that happened at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Could you describe these 8 men? Where were they from? What were they wearing?
It was the Pieng's group. They wore black uniforms and they had a scarf around their neck.
Were they armed with any weapons?
The 8 of them had 8 guns, an axe, and grenades.
Could you describe what they did after they called your father out of the house and after he came out of the house?
They took him to near the pit where they would execute him, and it was about 100 meters away near the foothill. However, I did not see them kill my parents. When I arrived at the pit, I saw their dead bodies in the pit. That is the bodies of my father, my mother, and my siblings.
You said earlier that these men tied your father up and then did the same with the rest of your family. Could you describe the manner in which they tied up your family?
They tied our hands behind the back with a rope that they use on cows, and all my sisters and brothers were tied up, and then we were lined up in a queue, and then they walked us into the forest.
So did they tie up each member of your family individually, or did they also tie them up together in one line?
We were tied up individually. However, when we were walked there, we were walked into a single file in order to prevent from any of us escaping.
On this particular day, did they do anything similarly with other families?
As for other families, I could not say if they had the force to work. Probably they would be spared, and others might have been killed. I had been hit 3 times by an axe at the nape of my neck, and from that day onward, my memory does not serve me that well.
Just going back to what happened outside of your family house, did you see the Khmer Rouge take any other families that day?
Mr. President, I object to the word Khmer Rouge. We either describe very specific people, or at least council should do that, and refrain from the word Khmer Rouge, especially when we're dealing in this period 75. So the Khmer Rouge as such cannot do anything. It's physical acts that counsel is asking for. So we should, the witness should describe persons rather than an entity called the Khmer Rouge.
Mr. Chung Young Chet, you said there were 8 Cadra with your family that morning. Did you see these 8 men deal with any other families in a similar way?
That day at 8 o'clock in the morning, a family next door was tied up as well. That family composed of the father, the mother, and 2 children.
Was that family ethnically Vietnamese?
Yes, they were also Vietnamese.
Was that family tied up at the same time that your family was tied up?
Yes.
You said earlier that these 8 Cadra then walked you about 1 kilometre away to another place. Could you describe the place where they stopped you?
They walked us from the house to the forest, and the distance was about a bit over 1 kilometer. And we were stopped about 100 meters from the pit, and each of us will be taken one by one to be killed at the pit.
During that 100-metre walk, did any of the Cadra say anything to yourself or your family or to the other family?
No. There were 4 cadres who were guarding our group, and the other 4 cadres would lead one of us at a time to the pit and killed.
Could you describe what this pit looked like? How big was it?
The pit was 3 meters wide, and it's 3 by 2.5, and the depth was 1.5 meters.
What did the Cadra do when you reached this pit?
As I stated earlier, each of us will be taken there and killed. They would kill, untied, and push the person into the pit. And when it's my turn, I was ordered to kneel down, and then they fell to my neck, and then they used an axe to hit the nape of my neck 3 times.
Were you the last out of your family to be told to kneel by this pit? What order did they take, the members of your family?
I was the last person in my family, and by that time all of the 8 cadres were there, and they presumed that I was dead. Then they untied me, they took away the rope and left.
By the time it was your turn, and as you were kneeling by the pit, what could you see inside the pit?
I only saw 4 of my family members and not the rest because they stacked on top of another. I saw the dead bodies of my father, my mother, and my siblings, and I was the last person to be killed and dropped into the pit.
Did you see the bodies of any of the other family who were taken with your family that day?
No, I did not. It was possible that they were stacked up below the dead bodies of my parents, and by the time that I was there kneeling at the pit, I felt dizzy.
Now, you described before that when it was your turn, you were forced to kneel down on your knees by the pit, and one of the cadre pulled your legs from behind you. Can you describe what then happened?
I said that I was ordered to kneel down, and after I knelt down, they pulled my legs. By that time I lost my balance and my head moved a bit forward. Then they felt the napped of my neck. They hit it 3 times. They dropped me off into the pit. Then they untied me.
You said before that when you dropped into the pit, you had lost consciousness. When did you regain consciousness?
It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I regained my consciousness. I could not walk. I had a very severe pain at my neck. It was swollen. Then after that I walked day and night to Kru village, and then I entered the house of Dali.
Now, at the time that all of this happened, you were only 13 or 14 years old. Could you let the court know what it was that you were thinking and feeling at the time that you regained consciousness in this mass grave?
Frankly speaking, I did not think of anything. I was just reborn. So I walked that night and I reached the floating Vietnamese village. I saw Tali, then they helped me. They gave me some modern medicine and also traditional medicines in order to treat me.
Who was this Mr. Tali who helped you?
Tapien's group assigned Stan Lee to live in the floating village in order to catch fish and to make fermented fish. When I reached that location, I told them that all of my family members had been killed and that I was hit, but I survived. Then he used some tree leaves to treat my swollen neck. President, thank you. The time is appropriate for our lunch break. We take a break now and resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the civil party at the waiting room reserved for civil parties and witnesses and invite him back into the courtroom at 1:30 this afternoon. Security personnel, you are instructed to take his pawn to the waiting room downstairs and have him returned to attend the proceedings in this courtroom before 1:30. The court is now in recess.